This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm gratified knowing that more and more people are good with taking care of their mental health, talking to a counselor, a therapist, whatever it may be, talking to somebody. But ultimately, why do we make the decision to do that? I do believe, and I'm going to get her feedback on this, but it's with one reason, and we might not even know the reason specifically, but broadly, it's to heal. We all have things that we need to heal from. I know that's kind of harsh to hear, but it's the truth, and backed up by science as well. We're going to talk about that, the healing journey, and how that looks through the eyes of therapy and so much more. She is a licensed professional counselor. Joining us today, she is Alison Weix on the program. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Fantastic, fantastic. And the healing thing is real, isn't it?
It is, yes. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of even those little events in the past definitely impact the way that we interact with the world in general, in our current everyday functioning. So
I like to call here's what do you have to heal from? You have to heal from another harsh one, trauma. We all got them. Hard to swallow that one, but we all do. And you could say, and I have friends that will, and by the way, most of this comes from childhood, right?
most does, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I have friends that will say, my childhood was great. It was fantastic. Everything was wonderful, wonderful. And then I see it as much as I know, and I'm like, it seems reasonable, but they got stuff going on.
Yeah.
You might not see it. You might interpret it as a kid like situation. I call them little T traumas, the big T traumas.
Yes.
And how about an example of maybe what a little T trauma and a big T trauma is that causes us to need to heal?
Yeah, for sure. I also love when people tell me like, oh, my childhood was normal, because what does normal mean for you, sort of thing.
What is, yeah, wait, I can't, are you normal? Like,
Right? Yes.
I think I am, but I don't even know if I am. How do I know? What's the baseline? What's the comparison? Who knows?
Yes. As far as that big T, little T trauma, the big T traumas are kind of like those major events that we think of, the sexual abuse, physical abuse, things like that.
Sure.
Little T trauma is more of like this death by a thousand paper cuts of like, they're the little side remarks that our moms would make about our weight as little girls, or, dads, implying that masculinity piece growing up, where it's not necessarily like this event that we can look back on, but it was more of this like overall environment that just like made us really unsure of ourselves and our identity.
Would you say, deep question alert, here we go. It's not that deep, but could it be a one-off, like a one thing you heard or something said to you, little T trauma, or for it really to turn into a trauma, it needs to be something that as a child, you have evidence of it repeating. It might not be the same exact situation, but in your mind, it's like, oh, then there was that. Oh, then there was that. What was that? And it could be very, I'm not minimizing anything, but very minimal, but the evidence stacks up. Can it be both of those? Can it actually be just a one comment that can plant that seed? And as an adult, you have challenges.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of that both and situation where like you have that one small comment and then it kind of snowballs of like, again, like that one comment makes you a little bit unsure of yourself. And then, oh, now that stranger down on the street just looked at me weird. Oh, they must be, thinking this about my body. And so it's just kind of that snowball throughout our life.
Yep.
And that's why a lot of times, like as an adult, then you're like, my childhood was fine. Like nothing big happened, nothing bad happened. But now, like, why am I struggling so much in my current situation?
Do you have those aha moments when you work with people?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
It really is. Yes.
It started for me with hypnotherapy. And, I knew my childhood, pieces of it. And I wasn't surprised to learn that how those impacted me as an adult. But then once you start thinking about it, like I got bullied, I was the fat kid, it sucked, And then when I think back in my mind, I think of that one time on the playground where, a kid wanted to beat me up. And like really? But then when I think more, then more things come back. Oh, remember the time on the bus where they opened the window and threw your Casper the Friendly Ghost lunchbox out the window? Ooh, that hurt. Bullied again. It all starts stacking up, and it makes an impact, in terms of
Mhm.
your self-esteem. Is it true that all of us have something within us where we feel that we're not good enough in some way, some shape and form?
Yeah, a lot of us do have a lot of those core beliefs of just kind of those immediate negative thoughts that we always say to ourselves. And a big one for a lot of people is this, am I enough? Am I capable? How do I compare to others in the world?
I was at the gym the other day and guy's working out. Don't even know who he is. And I look at his t-shirt and it says, I am enough. And I look at him, I look at the shirt, I'm like, that's good. Because we are. We don't
Mhm.
think we are. Can you give an example of something that maybe somebody dealt with within childhood, little T trauma, and what it could turn into later in life? How it could maybe limit them from moving forward?
Yeah, I think of I always take kind of a relational based approach. And so I always think of, again, kind of the relationships that we engage in with other people.
Mm.
Um, and so kind of like if we have those skewed relationships with our parents, we're going to have continued skewed relationships throughout the remainder of our lives. And so particularly trust comes to mind. And so like if we don't necessarily have that trust developed with our parents, we're not going to be able to trust other people in our life. And so when it comes to that vulnerability piece, that opening up to others, we might never really feel like we have friends or social connections and just kind of like forever isolated. Um, I guess that's the first example that comes to mind.
Oof. I never thought of that. That's a heavy lift when you say fully trust your parents. Now, there's those situations where you had issues, somebody had issues with their parent, and there's evidence of that, like
Yeah.
very clear evidence of that. Um, but it kind of makes you think, if you think of your both parents and your trust within them, one parent, you might even think that, I could trust with my feelings and they understand me. The other parent, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like this is a horrifically bad thing, but
Mhm.
when you think about it and how that impacted you as a child and now later in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing what the subconscious can do?
It really is. Yes.
It's like, I want to know your fascination with the human mind and what got you to this point where you want to help people heal.
Oh gosh, a whole lot. Um, I was definitely one of kind of those lost souls early in life, just kind of trying to find my footing. I myself actually really struggled to find a therapist that I like truly connected with and could reach that point of trust and vulnerability.
Mm.
And so that was kind of where I was like, I kind of want to be that person for other people. I want to be what I needed. Um, and just kind of seeing those that truly, truly need to be seen or feel seen.
I'm going to be honest with you. As you were speaking right away, I'm thinking to myself, I would call you in a second. You are I'm very transparent. You're very authentic,
Thank you.
and it
I try
comes
to be.
through, but it comes through. It really does. Um, and you realize that, it helped you. And to your point, it's a relationship. It's a very intimate one in terms of what you share with the therapist. Sometimes when I guess, or after a
Yeah.
session or whatever, but then there's sometimes like I was in a situation like 12 years ago, had a therapist, navigated through it. It's okay. Part of that situation sort of came back in the last, 4 years or whatever, and re-engaged the same therapist. Wasn't the same. Like
Yeah.
it's just, he's kind of aging out, gonna be honest. And he would always pilot on facts. And it's like, all
Mhm.
right, well, what about the way I feel? Like,
Yeah.
and that's how he was wired. And maybe that's good for some people, but it wasn't for me. And after like two sessions, I'm like, not, this is not working for me. Time,
Yeah.
time to make a change. Um, what are you hearing most often from people that you talk with, you work with? What's coming up a lot lately?
Yeah, so I kind of specialize a lot with moms, particularly kind of like pregnancy loss, miscarriage, things like that. Identity development is a big one. Um, and so I guess with that, like I deal a lot with grief. So I guess there's not necessarily one particular thing or issue that comes up, but it's just a lot of, again, more of that being seen in their grief, in their current situation. Um, Being a mom is very hard, especially when we kind of live in a society that isn't really built to support moms.
Hmm. You said the word grief. Are we all grieving?
In a way, yes. Yes.
Yeah. We you hear that word, and obviously right away you think of the passing of a loved one. That's grief. But there's so much that we, I wasn't expecting to talk about grief, but it's part of what we need to heal from. But
Mhm.
it could be, and what is grief, right? Loss. So loss of a relationship, loss of a job, loss of your maybe identity, maybe you're a mom and kids and who am I? I don't know who I am. You grieving inside, but you don't even know that you really are. Even from childhood, there could be grief that's left over, right?
Yeah, grief from what you did experience and then also what wasn't given to you as well. Yeah.
Hmm. Could you be, let's say, and I understand that this is a big thing. If you're somebody who, as a child, didn't get the attention and nurturing and love that you needed, not, I'm gonna, unless abuse and things like that, that goes over to the side. But, and not throwing any parents under the bus because they're doing what they think they should be doing, and that's based on what their parents did and before and
Mhm.
before. But let's say that you didn't get the nurturing that you needed as a child. Could you be grieving from that?
Definitely 1,000%. And with that, it's kind of because growing up too, a lot of times, again, like we don't necessarily realize that like what we experienced was abnormal or, had these large impacts on us. So it's kind of also that idea of grieving your parents weren't that great, that your parent, you had this idea and now it's kind of crumbling in front of you.
Hmm.
Which I always kind of tell my clients too when we get into those parent conversations of I'm not here to tell you whether your parents were good or bad. I'm just here to kind of make the connections of like this happened and now this is where we're at.
Do you find a lot of the work that you do helps others just understand, you know, put the pieces together?
For sure. Again, and that's where like it's not my role to tell you this, that, or the next thing. It's not my role to throw facts at you or
Sure.
worksheets at you. It's really just to kind of help you better understand yourself and your current functioning in the world. Because a lot of times, if there's a behavior that they're like, that I might see as like, hey, do we want to address this? And they're like, nope, that's not an issue that I want to work with. We move right past. It's not for me to say, like, hey, we need to change this. If they're totally okay with it, I'm totally.
Let's go to relationships, which you work with people on that as well, I'm sure, couples therapy and such. You hear it all the time. Man or woman will say, "Oh, I don't know what it is. There's no good men or women in this world. The same, like, why do the same people keep showing up in my life? Like, oh, well, why is that? Why is that?"
Again, that's kind of those relationships that we develop early in life, and then we just kind of keep repeating the pattern till we kind of have that aha, like, oh, shoot, this is why I keep going towards this person. This is why I keep, kind of because ultimately we do kind of see the same behaviors in these people, and it's going back to the same thing, expecting a different outcome, but it's the same outcome every time.
Would you say, or do you feel that many of the relationship challenges that we have essentially goes back to our parents?
Parents are really just caregivers in general. And that includes teachers, daycare providers, all those things. I think that's another aspect too that kind of
Mm.
gets forgotten of like the impact that
Oh,
every relationship we have as a child, we carry that with us.
oh my gosh. Like the one day I was just thinking deeper and I went through every teacher that I remember from elementary school on up. And it was actually, and how it made an impression on me. Like, whoa. And there are some teachers that you can't remember, too much. You don't remember anything bad, anything good. But I go like through my timeline. Second grade, Mrs. Baruch, she spanked me in front of the class because I was laughing. And I think that impacted me because I don't like burst out laughing. I think things are funny, but I'm like, I don't do that. I think that impacted me. And that turned into a whole big thing. Nowadays, she'd be in jail. But I told my mom and it went into the district looked at it and I was removed from her class. Um, but even then, third grade, Ms. Greenstein, I was, she was hot. I was attracted. Like I loved her. She's great. And then all through the years, like these people make impacts on you. Um, right up until, and this is, I believe that I'm just sharing this. It's not about me, but how this all works.
Yeah.
High school, loved art, cartooning, had 11th grade art teacher. I was doing a painting, acrylics, fall scene, rustic barn, wheatgrass leading to the barn, fall foliage. I couldn't do the sky. It wasn't coming out. I was just like, I was getting frustrated. And I asked her, Miss Meyer, it's not coming out the way I wanted to. And she takes a brush and she just goes, and it looked great. And she looks at me and she goes, you know what you are? You are an underachiever. And I was like, hmm. And I never processed that then, but now I look back to it. And on one regard, I think it set me back. But on the other regard, I think it moved me forward to push maybe a little bit harder. Because the next year, I was in 12th grade, I was voted class artist. So it's those things, like to your point, caregivers, we're in their care, a teacher, a grandmother, all of that.
Mhm.
That can have an impact on our relationships later in life, I guess. That's what it sounds
Yes.
like.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
This is, I'm sure, a question you get a lot. How long does it take?
I wish there was a set timeline. I
Yeah.
wish that I could tell people 6 sessions and you will go off and flourish. Um, and for some people, it is 2, 3, 4 sessions. Other people, it's 2, 3, 4 years. Um,
Mm.
it's really just kind of set by the person. Yeah.
Does it also come down to your want and willingness to heal? You could say, "Yeah, I want to feel better," but unless you're really prepared, it's gonna take longer.
Yes and no. Some people come in super willing to heal, and then when they actually kind of face the challenges, they're like, "Oh, maybe I was not so willing." There's
Mm.
also some people that come in for a super specific, like, this is what I want to work on, and then kind of in that they're hitting on the top of the iceberg, and then we kind of uncover everything that's underneath, and then they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna keep coming back even longer because I didn't even realize everything that was there."
Mm.
So again, it's really just kind of based on the person and kind of their life situation, their life stories, stuff like that. So
Sure. And every situation is different. You mentioned moms
mhm.
before. Do you feel that a lot of moms have they feel lost in themselves? They lost themselves. Does that come up a lot?
Yes, lost in themselves. A lot of times it's again that support piece where just kind of like Western society, we don't necessarily support moms the way that other cultures do. Um, and especially when you've got working moms and just like it kind of feels like the world's against you and like you're doing everything you can to fight against it. And at the end of the day, you're just completely beaten down and exhausted. So it's a lot of, again, just kind of seeing them in that and validating that for them that it is really hard.
Does a lot of this come back to, especially with mom, self-care, like doing things for yourself, finding the time, even though it may not be convenient, even though it may inconvenience others, or they may say it does, um, finding that, is that essential?
Self-care is essential. I know I kind of try to stay clear of that word, especially when working with moms, because a lot of times they bristle up because it's when do I have the time? When do I like I've got all these things I got to do all the so for me it's more of just like a how do you fill your cup? Like what makes you feel good at the end of the day? Because the idea of self-care can sometimes just be really daunting of like I have to take the hour, I got to spend the money, but like self-care can be you sit in the bath for 5 minutes before somebody's knocking on the door.
Sure.
That's self-care. So
100%. Going for a walk, 15 minutes, whatever it is. I never did it. I would go to the gym. This is 6 years ago. Gym is 800 feet. Beautiful, huge, just open. Sign up. I would go in on a treadmill, 12 minutes. I'm like, I got to get to work, in case something goes wrong. Like, what if I lose this income or that? I can blah, 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 blah. Nothing was wrong. It was in my mind. 12 minutes, I get off treadmill. I go to work, do the same thing the next day. And I've reframed my mind that if I don't do something, I feel guilty to myself.
yeah,
Like I feel off. Like, wait a minute, you're ripping yourself off. Do you realize what you're doing?
yeah.
It's it's made an amazing difference. Just and again, going for a walk. Sometimes I look
Mhm.
forward to, I'm gonna go. It's a nice day. I'm gonna go for a 30-minute walk with my dog.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna think that's it. That's
yeah.
self-care, right?
Yes, and I mean a walk's a great example too that for moms because it's bring your kids with you, but like they're on their bikes, they're in the stroller. It's that time of by yourself, but like not even really by
You have to learn how to do that.
yourself.
It's a skill to
It
be,
is, yes.
you're present, but for a little bit of time, you're not really present. You're watching them, they're playing, whatever, but you're thinking, stay off your phone. You're just in a zone. I've gotten
Yeah.
to the point, even in the last year, talking about the gym, I could be working out and I'll stare at a bolt on a machine and I'm in a different place. Like
Hmm.
call it meditation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, and I do a better workout just because of that. But you got to learn what works for you, and certainly talking about it. Even today, I'm sure this has been epiphany for some people, thinking, well, I didn't realize, just going for a walk is important. How do we connect with you? How does that process work, Allison?
Yeah, so I have a website, etherealembracecounseling.com. Otherwise, you can email me directly at alison.wix, Alison, period, Weix, at etherealembracecounseling.com.
The word ethereal,
Yes.
define it.
So it's kind of like this light, this goodness greater than what we can even fathom here in on the world. So,
Mm. You are the light. Like seriously, you're
thank you.
so grounded. I don't know what you're doing. Just keep doing it. um,
Thank you.
and just real, authentic, and fresh, and especially for women going through challenges. You work with men too, right?
I do, yes. Yeah.
Got it. Again, share the website with everybody. You want to put it on the lower third of the screen. Your website is?
Uh, etherealembracecounseling.com.
Got it. Thank you for being here today. Lots more to talk about the next time we get together. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.